The settlement hit like a freight train, but it was not the victory she expected. Blake Lively reportedly walked into this legal battle, thinking she would emerge as the ultimate Hollywood survivor, a resilient figure standing tall against the chaos. Instead, the final ruling has triggered an absolute firestorm of speculation that is threatening to dismantle her entire public image. The timing alone is being called one of the most deceptive moves in the history of celebrity litigation, leaving fans and critics wondering what was really being hidden until the very last second. This is not just about a court case anymore. It is about a narrative that is spiraling out of control faster than anyone can manage. People are looking at the exact moment this settlement was reached and seeing a calculated chess move rather than a simple resolution. The theory circulating through the industry is that Blake waited until the absolute final stages of litigation to sign on the dotted line, specifically to prevent certain information from becoming public. By settling right before the most damaging evidence could be unsealed, she may have saved her legal standing, but lost the trust of her audience. It is a classic high-stakes gamble where the goal was to keep the most explosive details behind closed doors, but the delay itself has become a smoking gun in the court of public opinion and triggered endless threads. The legal teams involved did not help the optics, especially when a celebratory post on LinkedIn suddenly vanished into thin air. Blake's attorneys had initially framed the entire case using incredibly symbolic, emotionally charged language, painting it as a battle for accountability and a stand against legal retaliation. But as the public mood shifted from curiosity to skepticism, that confident tone seemed to age poorly overnight. When the firm scrubbed their victory lap from social media, it sent a clear signal that the narrative they tried to build was no longer sticking. Critics are now reinterpreting that deleted post as a moment of hubris that completely underestimated the power of digital backlash. Rumors are flying that Blake Lively did not actually receive a single cent in direct financial compensation from this settlement, which has sent shockwaves through the fandom. While some legal experts caution that celebrity settlement structures are far more complex than a simple bank transfer, the perception of a loss is already hardening. If there was no major payout, it suggests the litigation might have been more about reputation management than actual damages. This perceived gap between the early aggressive legal messaging and the final quiet resolution is exactly why this story refuses to die. It feels like a retreat disguised as a resolution, and the internet is busy dissecting every missing dollar. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in how celebrity disputes are judged, moving away from the courtroom and into the realm of perceived authenticity. Modern audiences do not care about the legal fine print as much as they care about the media framing and the feeling of a genuine outcome. Blake's public image is currently under a microscope, with every single interview and promotional appearance being scanned for inconsistencies or shifts in tone. Supporters claim she is just being more careful under intense scrutiny, but the prevailing narrative is that her content has become overly curated. It is a desperate attempt to regain control over a storyline that has already been rewritten. Even the seemingly untouchable Ryan Reynolds has been pulled into the vortex of this controversy, as fans revisit his past through a much harsher lens. Moments that used to be seen as charming or comedic are now being reinterpreted as part of a highly managed branding machine. The social media age has a way of rewriting context in real time, and Ryan's involvement is a perfect example of how a controversy can bleed into an entire celebrity ecosystem. Previously lighthearted interactions are being scrutinized for signs of the same strategic maneuvers that people are accusing Blake of using. Nobody is safe once the digital narrative decides to flip the script on a power couple and their brand. The most dissected relationship in this entire saga is the dynamic between Blake and author Colleen Hoover, which has turned into a case study in power dynamics. What was once presented as a warm, creative partnership is now being viewed as a complicated professional hierarchy shaped by branding and influence. Unsealed documents and leaked commentary have painted a picture of a production environment that was far more tense than the red carpet photos suggested. Online observers are claiming that Blake took an incredibly dominant role in the creative direction, leading to a my way or the highway atmosphere that left the original creator in a much more deferential position than anyone realized. Some of the message exchanges that have surfaced are being described as emotionally charged and unusually intense for a standard film adaptation. On one side, you have Colleen Hoover allegedly expressing overwhelming gratitude and enthusiasm just to be included in the process. On the other side, Blake's responses are being interpreted as far more assertive and emotionally expansive, creating a weird tension that fans are finding hard to ignore. While some argue this is just how creative people communicate, the digital consensus is that these leaks show a clear imbalance. It is the kind of behind-the-scenes drama that completely changes how you watch the finished product once you see the strings. The narrative has now shifted to focus on shifting professional dependency and the need for emotional validation on set. Critics are portraying Colleen as someone eager to maintain a positive relationship at any cost, while Blake is being framed as the one emphasizing her own emotional experience above all else. These are subjective readings, of course, but in the world of viral discourse, perception is reality. When private communications are removed from their context and dumped into the public square, they become weapons. The idea that this creative collaboration was actually a subtle power struggle has become the central theme of the ongoing fallout that continues to damage their reputations. A major turning point in public sentiment came down to a single, widely discussed apology-style message that Ryan Reynolds reportedly sent during promotional activity. At the time, it was seen as a polite, supportive gesture from a professional peer trying to keep the peace. But in the wake of the settlement, that same message is being reinterpreted through a much more suspicious and strategic lens. Fans are asking if it was a genuine olive branch or just another layer of PR protection designed to buffer the brewing storm. This shift proves how quickly a celebrity's good guy image can be weaponized against them once the public starts looking for hidden motives in every single interaction. There is a recurring theory that Colleen Hoover was the primary engine for the project's early fan engagement, and that the production relied heavily on her massive influence. In this version of events, the celebrity participants were more than happy to use her platform while the cameras were rolling and the tickets were being sold. But once the promotional phase ended, the narrative suggests a sudden and intentional distancing began to take place. While there is no verified evidence of a dump-and-run strategy, the timing of the social media silence has left fans feeling like the author was used for her reach and then left to deal with the fallout alone, as the big stars moved on to other things. The fallout has even reached the supporting cast, with actors like Brandon Sklenar finding their past statements of support under heavy fire. Early on, Brandon was one of the vocal voices standing by Blake Lively during the height of the initial controversy, but those posts are now being criticized as premature. In the fast-moving world of Hollywood drama, picking a side too early can be a career-ending mistake if the narrative shifts against you. Now, we are seeing a quiet reduction in visibility for those supportive posts, as public figures try to distance themselves from a situation that has become far more toxic than they originally signed up for when the production first started. Colleen Hoover's own reduced social media presence has become a loud statement in itself, with fans noting every change in her public-facing interactions. In the digital age, silence is not just neutral, it is symbolic. Her decision to step back from the constant cycle of promotion and interaction is being read as a sign of deep-seated tension and a desire to distance herself from the entire production's reputation. This inactivity has fueled even more interpretation cycles, where every day she stays quiet is seen as another confirmation that the warm creative partnership was nothing more than a carefully constructed myth for the press to sell more tickets to an unsuspecting audience. One of the most consistent themes in this entire explosion is how quickly a story can fragment once additional information enters the sphere. The early reporting was driven by emotion and strong media coverage, which led everyone to pick a side almost instantly. But as more details and alternative interpretations emerged, the discourse broke apart into conflicting camps. Even with the legal settlement technically closing the case, the internet is treating it as an active, living narrative. The court of public opinion does not have a judge, and it certainly does not have a final ruling, which is why the drama continues to trend months after the legal documents were actually signed and filed. Statements about justice and accountability are still circulating in commentary spaces, proving that legal resolutions rarely provide the closure the public actually wants. People are still hunting for the truth behind the reputational harm and the shifting alliances that define this project. This ongoing engagement reflects a massive pattern in modern celebrity culture, where the law and the public's sense of morality are completely out of sync. A settlement might stop the lawyers from talking, but it only makes the fans talk louder. The story has not ended. It has simply moved from a courtroom to a million different social media threads where every detail is analyzed with a microscope. This entire situation has sparked a wave of anxiety throughout the entertainment industry, especially at major events like the Cannes Film Festival. Celebrities are becoming increasingly cautious about their public perception, shifting away from the confident, glamorous personas of the past towards something much more managed. Observers at these high-profile events are noting a palpable fear of the digital scrutiny that can turn a red carpet moment into a PR nightmare in seconds. The old Hollywood system of control is dead, and the new reality is a hypersensitive environment where one wrong look can trigger a global investigation into your character and your past creative choices. Cannes used to be the ultimate stage for cinematic celebration, but today the atmosphere is reportedly much more tense. Studios and publicists used to own the narrative around their films, but social media has completely flipped that script. A single awkward clip or an underwhelming standing ovation can now go viral and define a film's reputation before the general public even sees a trailer. Because of this, major studios are becoming terrified of early festival reactions. If a film is labeled as overhyped or boring by a few TikTokers on the ground, that label can follow the project through its entire release cycle, costing millions in potential box office and destroying awards potential. Take the recent situation with Jacob Elordi, which became a textbook example of how quickly a celebrity narrative can shift. He was announced as a jury member at Cannes, a massive career milestone, but his sudden withdrawal due to a reported foot injury was immediately met with skepticism. When paparazzi images surfaced showing him walking comfortably in Hawaii, the internet erupted. It did not matter what the actual truth was. The timing looked suspicious, and the discourse formed around the idea that he chose personal leisure over professional duty. It shows how even routine schedule changes are now treated like massive scandals that require an immediate explanation from the star. The speed at which audiences form and spread assumptions is the most dangerous tool in modern culture. Whether it is Jacob Elordi in Hawaii or Blake Lively's creative control, the public is no longer waiting for the facts to arrive. They are building the story in real time based on fragments of information and leaked details that may or may not be accurate. This environment makes it impossible for public figures to reset their image once a perception has taken hold. Once you are labeled as difficult or deceptive, every action you take for the rest of your career is viewed through that specific, unforgiving lens that distorts even your most innocent and neutral public behaviors. The core of the problem for stars like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds is that audiences are becoming hypersensitive to anything that feels overly engineered. People are still willing to support celebrities, but only if they feel like the authenticity is real. The second a narrative feels like it was constructed by a room full of PR experts to guide an emotional response, the trust begins to evaporate. Even tiny details, like a deleted comment or a carefully timed social media post, are now seen as pieces of a larger manipulative puzzle. It is a visibility loop that rewards honesty and punishes strategy, and Hollywood is currently struggling to adapt to these new and brutal rules. Celebrities now find themselves operating in what experts describe as a hyper-scrutinized visibility loop. In this space, there is no such thing as a neutral action. Every appearance, every friendship, and even every moment of silence is given a specific meaning based on the surrounding controversy. If you stay quiet, you are hiding something. If you speak out, you are being defensive. For Blake Lively, this has meant that her promotional branding has become a minefield. The more she tries to curate a specific survivor image, the more the public points to the inconsistencies in her past and present, creating a cycle of backlash that never truly ends regardless of the legal outcome. This transformation of celebrity culture means that narratives are no longer passive, they are active collaborations between the star and the audience. Every post and statement becomes part of a larger perceived storyline, regardless of what the original intention was. The real shift in the Blake Lively situation is not just the legal proceedings or the settlement details, but the way the public has taken ownership of the story. They have connected dots between Hollywood social circles, shifting relationships, and promotional distancing that may not even exist, yet these theories are what drive the headlines and the overall sentiment toward her and her upcoming projects. Ultimately, the fallout from this settlement proves that the era of the unreachable movie star is officially over. We are living in an age where the court of public opinion can overrule a legal ruling, and where a single viral interpretation can dismantle decades of branding. Blake Lively's struggle to control her own story is a warning to the entire industry. The old tools of PR and polished interviews are useless against a digital audience that demands raw transparency. The narrative will continue to evolve, and as it does, it serves as a reminder that in the modern world, the truth is not what is written in the settlement. It is what the world decides to believe at the end of the day.